The flickering screen of a smartphone can hold a world of secrets, a gateway to connections, or, as Olivia Jones was about to discover, a portal to an unimaginable betrayal. One moment, she was living a dream, 2 years deep in a relationship with billionaire Richard Walker, envisioning a future filled with shared laughter and quiet companionship. The next, her world shattered into a million pieces, each shard reflecting the harsh glare of a text message not meant for her eyes. Her hands, usually steady and confident from years as a successful marketing executive, trembled so violently the phone felt like it might slip from her grasp. The words on the screen swam before her, blurring with the sudden, unwelcome welling of tears. She blinked, forcing them back, forcing herself to read it again, then a third time, praying for a misinterpretation, a cruel joke, anything but the truth that was slowly, painfully solidifying in her mind. The message wasn't addressed to her. It was from Richard, intended for his friend James, but instead it landed in her inbox, a digital grenade detonating the carefully constructed reality of her life. Got everything set for the birthday. Going to finally end things with Olivia. Can't have someone like her dragging down my image anymore. Family's been pushing back too much. Time to move on to someone more suitable for the Walker name. Should be quite the show when I announce it at the party. The words were a punch to the gut, stealing her breath, leaving her gasping for air in the sudden vacuum of trust. Someone like her. That phrase echoed in the empty chambers of her heart, each syllable a confirmation of fears she'd long suppressed, anxieties whispered in the dark corners of her mind. She knew exactly what it meant. It wasn't about her capabilities, her intelligence, her warmth, or the unwavering love she had offered Richard for 2 years. It was about her skin color, her background, the indelible mark of coming from a middle-class family instead of generations of old money. For 2 years, Olivia had meticulously, almost painstakingly, tried to ignore the subtle slights, the sideways glances from Richard's family at high society events, the thinly veiled comments about her unconventional career path, as if marketing required less intellect than managing inherited wealth, the way she was often, almost imperceptibly, excluded from certain family gatherings, a phantom guest existing only on the fringes of their exclusive world. She had believed Richard when he swore none of it mattered to him, that he loved her for who she was, that they were building a future together, brick by heartfelt brick. How foolish that belief now seemed, how utterly, devastatingly naive. What truly stung, more than the raw wound of betrayal, was the meticulous planning. Richard hadn't merely decided to end their relationship. He had orchestrated a spectacle. His birthday party, the very celebration she had spent weeks helping to organize, selecting the perfect, thoughtful gift, ensuring every detail was flawless for him, was to be the stage for her public humiliation. It was a calculated cruelty, a weaponized celebration designed to amplify her pain for the entertainment of his elite circle. Her phone buzzed again, yanking her back to the present. Another message from Richard. Ignore that last text, sent to wrong person. And immediately after, it's not what you think. Call me. The frantic tone, the desperate attempts at damage control, only solidified Olivia's resolve. The initial shock began to recede, replaced by a cold, searing anger, and then something far more potent, a steely determination. For 2 years, Olivia had bent, compromised, and reshaped herself, trying to fit into Richard's gilded cage. She had put her own dreams on hold, like the promising job offer in Chicago she'd turned down, to support his aspirations, to exist within his orbit. No more. The thought was a quiet revolution within her. She wouldn't call him back. Not yet. First, she needed a plan. If Richard wanted a show, she would give him one. Just not the one he expected. This wasn't just about survival. It was about reclaiming her narrative, her worth, her very self. She scrolled through her contacts, her finger hovering over a name that always brought a smile to her face. Zoe. Her best friend. The one who knew her, truly saw her, flaws and all, and loved her unconditionally. Hey, I need your help with something, Olivia said, her voice betraying the tremor in her heart. Zoe's immediate concern was palpable. You okay? You sound upset. No, I'm not okay, Olivia admitted, the dam of tears threatening to break again. "But I will be. Richard's planning to dump me at his birthday party next week." A beat of stunned silence on the other end, then Zoe's voice, sharper, harder. "What? That jerk? How did you find out?" "He sent me a text by mistake, meant for his friend." "I never liked him," Zoe declared, her loyalty fierce. "Always thought he was too full of himself. What are you going to do?" It was then, for the first time since reading that devastating text, that Olivia smiled. It wasn't a happy smile, but one laced with a dangerous glint of purpose. "I'm going to turn the tables on him, and I need your help." "I'm all in. What's the plan?" Olivia looked at the calendar on her wall. Richard's birthday was in 8 days. 8 days to dismantle a lie and build a new truth. "I'm not sure yet," she confessed, "but I have a week to figure it out, and it starts with me not returning his calls." As if on cue, her phone lit up with Richard's name. She declined the call. "That's my girl," Zoe cheered. "Whatever you need, I'm here." After hanging up, Olivia sank onto her couch. The tears still threatened, but she wouldn't let them fall. She wouldn't beg, wouldn't demand explanations that would only offer more lies. Those text messages had ripped away the veneer, revealing Richard's true colors. Now she would show him hers. Her phone buzzed again. Richard. She turned it off completely, tossing it onto the cushion beside her. Then she walked to her bathroom, turned the shower to the hottest setting she could bear, and stepped in, letting the scalding water wash away not just the tears, but the humiliation, the pain, the 2 years of wasted effort. By the time she emerged, her skin was red, but her mind was clear. Richard had chosen his path of deceit. Now she would choose hers, a path of unwavering self-respect. For the first time in 2 years, Olivia felt a strange, exhilarating sense of freedom. Richard's betrayal would not define her. Instead, it would be the fuel for a phoenix-like rise, a catalyst to reclaim her life, her real life, not the one where she constantly performed, constantly tried to be good enough for the Walkers. As she dried off, she caught sight of herself in the mirror, her reflection a silent challenge. "You deserve better," she told her image, her voice firm, resolute, "and you're going to get it." Outside her apartment, the city lights twinkled against the darkening sky, an entire metropolis oblivious to the quiet revolution occurring within her walls. A new night was beginning, and for Olivia Jones, a new, far more authentic chapter was about to start. The next morning, Olivia awoke to a cacophony of digital urgency. 15 missed calls and 23 text messages from Richard, each more desperate than the last. "Please call me back. It's not what you think. We need to talk. Where are you? Are you okay? I'm coming over if you don't answer." The last one, a thinly veiled thread of control, brought a small, defiant smile to her lips as she sipped her coffee. Richard was accustomed to pulling the strings, to having everyone, especially her, dance to his tune. Not anymore. She finally replied, a single, succinct text. "I'm fine. Need some space. Talk later." His response was immediate. "I'm coming over." "No," she texted back. "I'm not home. I'll call when I'm ready." She wasn't lying. She was already at Zoe's apartment, where she had spent the night, a strategic retreat from the battlefield of her own home. "He's freaking out," Olivia told Zoe, showing her the flurry of messages. "Good," Zoe replied, pouring more coffee, her eyes sparkling with fierce satisfaction. "Let him sweat." They spent the morning outlining Olivia's plan. It wasn't about petty revenge. Olivia wasn't that person. Her integrity ran deeper. This was about reclaiming her dignity, about demonstrating to Richard precisely what his small-minded prejudice had cost him. As they talked, a profound realization dawned on Olivia. "I've put my whole life on hold for him," she murmured, the words heavy with regret. "That job offer in Chicago last year, I turned it down because Richard said long distance wouldn't work. And your design business," Zoe added, reminding Olivia of her true passions. "You hardly do any freelance work anymore because you're always helping with his events." Olivia nodded, a wave of self-reproach washing over her. Before Richard, she had been meticulously building a promising side business in event planning and design, a creative outlet complementing her marketing career. Slowly, imperceptibly at first, it had been replaced by endless, unpaid hours, planning events for Richard and his demanding family, all under the guise of love and support. It was a classic trap many fall into, sacrificing their own ambitions for a partner's, believing it's a necessary expression of devotion. But true love elevates, it doesn't diminish. That changes now, Olivia declared, her voice firm, the new resolve hardening her features. I'm calling that company in Chicago to see if they still have an opening. Really? You'd leave town? Zoe asked, surprised but supportive. Maybe. I don't know yet, but I need to start making decisions for myself again. This was the crux of her journey, shifting from a reactive existence to a proactive one. It's a common challenge, isn't it? To disentangle our identities from our relationships and remember who we were and who we wanted to be before we intertwined our lives with another. Olivia made the call that afternoon. To her surprise, the company was still interested. They had filled the initial position, but rapid expansion meant they needed more talent. A video interview was scheduled for the next day. A spark of hope ignited within her, a beacon in the recent darkness. By evening, Olivia felt emotionally prepared to face Richard. She returned to her apartment, knowing he would likely appear once he realized she was home. Sure enough, 30 minutes after she texted Zoe about her return, a sharp knock echoed at her door. When she opened it, Richard stood there, a shadow of his impeccably polished self. His normally perfect hair was disheveled, dark circles rimmed his eyes. He looked, for the first time she could remember, genuinely worried and uncharacteristically vulnerable. "Olivia," he said, relief flooding his voice, "you had me worried sick." "Come in," she said calmly, stepping aside. Richard entered, immediately launching into his pre-rehearsed explanation. "That text, it wasn't what it seemed. James and I were discussing a business deal. It was code for a client we're dropping." Olivia almost laughed at the sheer absurdity of the lie, the pathetic attempt to manipulate her back into his narrative. "Really?" she asked, her voice laced with a dangerous calm. "And this client happens to have my exact name?" "It's a coincidence," he mumbled, refusing to meet her gaze. "Stop lying, Richard. It's insulting." His shoulders slumped, the facade crumbling. It's a powerful moment when someone finally calls out a lie, isn't it? It strips away the power from the deceiver and bestows it upon the one who demands truth. "Fine," he conceded, "but it wasn't my idea. My family has been pressuring me. You know how they are." He was deflecting, blaming external forces, a classic avoidance tactic. "I do know how they are," Olivia agreed, her gaze unwavering. "And I know how you are too. Someone who would plan to publicly humiliate me instead of having an honest conversation." "I wasn't going to humiliate you," he protested weakly. "I was going to do it privately after the party." "That's not what your text said," Olivia replied, holding up her phone, displaying the screenshot she'd taken. The evidence was irrefutable. "Should be quite the show when I announce it at the party." Richard paled, caught in his own web of deceit. I wasn't thinking straight. I would never actually do that." "I don't believe you," Olivia stated, her voice steady, devoid of emotion. "But it doesn't matter now. We're done." "What? No!" Richard looked genuinely shocked, as if the script had suddenly, violently gone off track. "Olivia, I love you. We can work through this." "I loved you too," Olivia countered, the past tense a sharp, clean cut. "But I don't think you ever really loved me. If you did, you wouldn't have planned this. You wouldn't let your family's opinions matter more than me." This was the brutal truth, the realization that true love necessitates prioritizing your partner, not bowing to external pressures that diminish them. "That's not fair," Richard said, his shock morphing into anger. "I've stood up to them countless times for you." "Not enough times," Olivia replied, "and not when it really mattered." They argued for another hour, a verbal dance through Richard's predictable stages of denial, anger, and desperate bargaining. He promised to cut off his family if they didn't accept her. He swore he'd marry her tomorrow if that's what she wanted. He offered everything she might have yearned for just days ago. But it was too late. The trust was gone, irrevocably broken. A second chance without trust is just a delayed repetition of the first betrayal. Finally, exhausted by his own futile efforts, Richard asked, "So that's it? 2 years just over?" "Yes," Olivia said, the single word carrying the weight of a definitive ending. "Please leave and don't contact me again." After Richard left, the silence in the apartment was deafening, yet strangely peaceful. Breaking up, a scenario she would have imagined as utterly devastating just days prior, felt nowhere near as crushing. It was then she realized, with a clarity that both relieved and saddened her, that a part of her had known all along. She had seen the red flags, felt the subtle shifts, but had chosen to ignore them, to cling to the idealized version of their relationship. Many of us do this, don't we? We rationalize, we hope, we minimize until the undeniable truth crashes down. Her phone buzzed, a text from Zoe. "How did it go?" "It's done," Olivia replied. "I'll tell you everything tomorrow. Tonight, I need sleep." As she got ready for bed, her thoughts turned to the video interview tomorrow, to Chicago, to a fresh start. But first, she had a birthday party to attend, a final act of reclamation, because despite what she told Richard, Olivia wasn't quite finished yet. She would still go to his celebration, but on her terms. The next morning, Olivia aced her video interview with the Chicago company. They were profoundly impressed by her portfolio and experience, and by the end of the call, they extended an offer. The salary was a significant upgrade from her current job, and the position, creative marketing director, was precisely the career advancement she had been striving for. "We need you as soon as possible," the HR director said. "How soon can you relocate?" 2 weeks, Olivia replied without hesitation, a bold declaration of her readiness for change. That would give her enough time to wrap up her affairs, including Richard's birthday party, now just 8 days away. Accepting the offer, she immediately called Zoe with the news. "Chicago!" Zoe exclaimed, her excitement bubbling over. "I'm going to miss you like crazy, but this is perfect timing." "I know," Olivia agreed, a genuine smile gracing her lips. "But I'm not leaving until after Richard's party." "You're still going? Why put yourself through that?" "Because I'm not going to slink away like I did something wrong. I'm going to hold my head high. Plus, I have a surprise planned." It was about more than just revenge. It was about demonstrating self-respect and the power of agency. It was a statement. "You don't get to control my narrative." "What kind of surprise?" Zoe pressed, clearly intrigued. "I can't tell you yet, but I need your help with something else. Remember Jackson Chin?" Zoe paused. "Your ex from college? The architect?" "Yes. Do you know if he's seeing anyone?" "Last I heard, he was single. Moved back to town about 6 months ago. Why?" "I need a date for the party." Zoe laughed, a genuine, joyful sound. "Olivia Jones, you are full of surprises. I think I can get his number for you." Later that afternoon, Olivia sat across from Jackson Chin at a downtown coffee shop. He looked even better than she remembered. Tall, confident, with kind eyes that crinkled at the corners when he smiled. "I have to admit I was surprised to get your call," Jackson said, his voice warm, familiar. "It's been what, 5 years?" "Almost 6, Olivia replied, a comfortable ease settling between them. "Thanks for meeting me on such short notice." "How could I say no?" he teased gently. "You were always hard to resist." His smile brought back a flood of memories from their college days. They had dated for 2 years, a relationship built on mutual respect and genuine affection, breaking up amicably only when their career paths diverged to different cities. It was a testament to their solid foundation that reconnecting felt so natural, so effortless. Olivia got straight to the point. "I have an unusual favor to ask." She explained the situation with Richard, carefully omitting the more painful details of his planned humiliation, focusing instead on her decision to attend his birthday party, with a date, on her own terms. "So you want to make him jealous?" Jackson asked, raising an eyebrow, a hint of amusement in his eyes. "No," Olivia said firmly. "I don't care if he's jealous or not. I just don't want to go alone, and I'd like to go with someone I have a genuine connection with." This was a crucial distinction. Her motivation wasn't about Richard's reaction, but about her own comfort and dignity. Jackson studied her face. "There's more to this plan than you're telling me." Olivia smiled, a flicker of her cunning returning. "Maybe, but I promise it's nothing that would make you uncomfortable." "Well, I'm intrigued now," Jackson said, leaning forward. "Count me in. When's this party?" "Next Saturday, black tie. I'll text you the details." After sorting out the logistics, their conversation flowed easily, catching up on the past 6 years. Jackson had built a successful architectural firm, specializing in sustainable design, a passion he spoke about with quiet enthusiasm. He had moved back to be closer to his parents as his father dealt with health issues. "And you?" he asked. Still conquering the marketing world? Yes, Olivia said, but with a change coming up. I just accepted a job in Chicago. Chicago, Jackson repeated, looking thoughtful. Great architecture there. So I've heard, Olivia replied, smiling. They talked for 2 hours, falling back into the easy rhythm they'd always shared. Olivia had forgotten how simple things were with Jackson. No family drama, no subtle critiques, no constant pressure to prove herself worthy of his name. It was refreshing, a stark contrast to the suffocating world she'd just left. It's a powerful lesson, isn't it? How sometimes the people who are truly meant for us offer ease, not endless striving. As they were leaving, Jackson touched her arm lightly. It's really good to see you, Liv. Whatever happened with this Richard guy, he's an idiot for letting you go. Thank you, she said, touched by the genuine sincerity in his voice. See you Saturday. Wouldn't miss it. Over the next few days, Olivia threw herself into preparations. She gave notice at her job, packed the first few boxes of her apartment, and meticulously finalized her plan for Richard's party. The night before the big event, she tried on her dress, a stunning red gown she had bought months ago for this very occasion. Richard had never seen it. She had kept it a surprise, knowing red was his favorite color. Now she wore it for herself, for the sheer joy of looking amazing, a vibrant declaration of her resilience. She took a selfie and sent it to Zoe. You're going to knock everyone dead, Zoe texted back, including your ex and your new old flame. Jackson's just a friend, Olivia replied, though she couldn't deny the familiar, comforting connection she'd felt when they met for coffee. For now, Zoe texted, adding a winking emoji. Olivia put her phone down and looked in the mirror again. Tomorrow would be a new beginning, in more ways than one. She was ready. The morning of Richard's birthday party arrived with perfect weather, sunny and mild, a symbolic backdrop to Olivia's inner transformation. She woke feeling calm, determined, and strangely liberated. Today marked not just the final chapter of her relationship with Richard, but the exhilarating first page of her new life. She spent the morning finalizing details for her surprise at the party, making calls to ensure every piece was perfectly in place. By afternoon, she began getting ready, taking her time with her hair and makeup, an act of self-care and empowerment. At 6:00 p.m., Jackson arrived to pick her up. When she opened the door, his reaction was all the validation she needed for the effort she'd put into her appearance. "Wow," he said simply, his eyes wide with admiration. "You look incredible." "Thank you," Olivia replied, taking in his perfectly fitted tuxedo. "You clean up pretty well yourself." In the car, Olivia found herself relaxing in Jackson's company, a stark contrast to the performative anxiety she often felt with Richard. There was no pressure to be perfect, no need to strategize every word to impress someone, no veiled judgment. "Nervous?" Jackson asked as they neared the opulent hotel where the party was being held. "Surprisingly, no," Olivia answered honestly. The truth, a quiet revelation even to herself. A week ago, I would have been terrified of facing Richard and his family, but now I feel free. It was the freedom that comes from knowing your worth, from shedding the weight of external validation. Jackson glanced at her, a gentle smile playing on his lips. "Freedom looks good on you." When they arrived at the Grand Plaza Hotel, the ballroom was already filling with an impressive array of guests, a glittering tableau of wealth and power. Richard had spared no expense. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead, champagne flowed freely, and a live band played soft jazz in the corner, setting an atmosphere of sophisticated revelry. Olivia spotted Richard immediately, a magnetic presence surrounded by his usual circle of business associates and high society hangers-on. He hadn't seen her yet. She wanted to control their first encounter, not be ambushed. "Let's get a drink," she suggested to Jackson, subtly guiding him toward the bar. They had just received their champagne when Zoe appeared, a vision in a stunning silver dress, her eyes alight with anticipation. "You made it!" Olivia hugged her friend tightly. "Wouldn't miss this for the world," Zoe replied, then turned to Jackson, a playful smirk on her face. "It's been ages, Jackson. Still breaking hearts?" Jackson laughed, a genuine easy sound. "Only accidentally. Good to see you, Zoe." The three of them found a strategic spot near one of the large windows overlooking the city skyline, a perfect vantage point. From there, Olivia could see the exact moment Richard finally registered her presence. His head snapped in her direction, and even from across the room, she could see him freeze mid-conversation, his suave composure cracking. "He's seen you," Zoe murmured, a note of triumph in her voice. "I know," Olivia replied, taking a slow, deliberate sip of champagne. "Let him come to us." It was a subtle power play, a reversal of roles. He was the one now on the back foot, forced to react to her presence. It took less than 5 minutes. Richard, clearly flustered, excused himself from his group and made his way across the ballroom, his expression a fascinating mixture of surprise, confusion, and a flicker of something that looked suspiciously like fear. "Olivia," he said when he reached them, his voice low. "I didn't expect to see you here." "I RSVP'd months ago," she replied calmly, her voice betraying nothing but politeness. "I wouldn't miss your birthday." Richard's eyes darted to Jackson, then back to her, a silent question in their depths. "Can we talk privately?" "Anything you have to say you can say in front of my friends," Olivia said, her voice pleasant but firm. Richard's jaw tightened. The attempt to isolate her, to regain control, had failed. "Fine. I'm glad you came. You look beautiful." "Thank you," Olivia said, allowing herself a small, genuine smile. "Happy birthday, Richard. This is Jackson Chin, by the way. Jackson, this is Richard Walker." The two men shook hands, a quiet but intense sizing up occurring between them. "How do you know each other?" Richard asked, his tone attempting casualness, but his eyes were sharp, calculating. "We dated in college," Jackson replied smoothly, his hand resting lightly on Olivia's lower back, a subtle claim. "Recently reconnected." Richard's face darkened, the last vestiges of his composure slipping. "I see. Well, enjoy the party." He turned stiffly and walked away. "Round 1 to Olivia," Zoe whispered, clinking her glass against Olivia's, a conspiratorial glint in her eyes. It was a victory, not just of a cleverly executed plan, but a victory of self-possession. Throughout the evening, Olivia could feel Richard's eyes on her, a persistent, unsettling presence. She ignored him, focusing instead on catching up with Jackson and introducing him to the few people at the party she genuinely liked, mostly former colleagues who appreciated her for her intellect, not her connections. By 9 o'clock, most of the guests had arrived, and Richard's father, William Walker, took the stage to begin the speeches. William was the epitome of old money, silver-haired, impeccably dressed, with the confident bearing of someone who had never heard the word no. "Ladies and gentlemen," William began, his voice booming across the ballroom, "thank you for joining us to celebrate my son Richard's 35th birthday." Olivia tensed. It was almost time for her surprise. William's speech was brief, filled with predictable pride in his son's accomplishments, the expected platitudes of success and lineage. At the end, he raised his glass. "And now, I believe Richard has something he would like to share with you all." Richard joined his father on stage, accepting the microphone with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. He scanned the crowd, his gaze finally landing on Olivia, a triumphant glint now in his eyes, believing he was about to deliver his humiliating blow. "Thank you all for coming tonight," Richard said, his voice carrying an air of self-importance. "It means a lot to have friends and family here, too." He was interrupted by a hotel staff member who approached the stage, whispering something in his ear. Richard frowned, then nodded, a flicker of annoyance on his face. "Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen," he said into the microphone, a forced smile now. "I've just been informed that we have a special presentation prepared. If you could all direct your attention to the screens." The large screens that flanked the stage, usually reserved for corporate logos or family montages, lit up. Olivia held her breath, a mix of exhilaration and nerves coursing through her. This was it. The screen showed the hotel's grand ballroom, this very room, but decorated differently, with white flowers and ribbons, a quintessential wedding setup. Then, bold text appeared. "The Walker family and the Jones family invite you to celebrate the marriage of Richard Walker and Olivia Jones." Gasps rippled through the room. Richard stood frozen on stage, his mouth agape in utter shock, his grand plan hijacked. The date on the invitation was 2 months from now, a date Olivia and Richard had discussed many times as their potential wedding day, though he had never officially proposed. Then the screen changed again, displaying another, more defiant message. "Sadly, this event will not be taking place. Instead, Olivia Jones invites you to celebrate her new beginning, a new career, a new city, and a life lived on her own terms." The screen then displayed a montage of Olivia's achievements, photos of her excelling in her marketing career, her dedicated volunteer work, her stunning design projects, and finally, the iconic Chicago skyline with the words "Coming Soon" beneath it. The ballroom erupted in murmurs, a cacophony of surprise and speculation. On stage, Richard looked like he'd been slapped, stripped of his power, utterly humiliated. His father stepped forward, face red with furious anger. But Richard held up a hand, a gesture of defeat more than control, to stop him. Olivia felt Jackson's hand on her back, steady and supportive. "You okay?" he whispered. She nodded, meeting Richard's gaze across the room. She didn't smile, didn't gloat. This wasn't about humiliating him in the same vindictive way he had planned for her. This was about reclaiming her narrative, about taking back her power, about demonstrating that she was not a pawn in his games. Richard stepped down from the stage, making his way toward her, his family watching in stunned silence, their carefully constructed world now shattered. "What was that?" he demanded when he reached her, his voice a tight whisper of fury and disbelief. "That was me telling my side of the story," Olivia replied quietly, her voice calm amidst the chaos. "Before you could tell yours." "You had no right!" "I had every right," Olivia cut him off, her voice rising slightly, infused with the conviction of her truth. "You were planning to dump me tonight in front of everyone. Your words, not mine. I just beat you to the punch." Richard's anger deflated, replaced by a grudging, almost visible respect. "I underestimated you." "Yes," Olivia agreed, her gaze firm, unwavering. "You did." Without another word, Richard turned and walked away, stopping to confront his parents, who were clearly demanding a furious explanation. "That was impressive," Jackson said, watching Richard retreat. "Remind me never to cross you." Olivia laughed, a genuine, joyful sound that felt lighter than she had in months. "Let's get out of here." They said goodbye to Zoe, who promised to call tomorrow for all the juicy details, and made their way out of the ballroom, leaving the stunned, whispering crowd behind. As they waited for the valet to bring Jackson's car, he turned to her. "Chicago, huh?" "Yes," Olivia confirmed. "I start in 2 weeks." Jackson nodded thoughtfully. "I have a few projects there. Might need to visit occasionally." Their eyes met, and Olivia felt a flutter of possibility, a warmth spreading through her chest. Not a rebound, not a mere replacement for what she'd lost with Richard, but something new, something real, something that felt utterly authentic. "I'd like that," she said softly. As they drove away from the hotel, Olivia looked back once at the glittering building. She had entered as Richard Walker's soon-to-be ex-girlfriend, a victim of his casual cruelty. But she was leaving as something much more important: herself, liberated and in command of her own destiny. The morning after Richard's birthday party, Olivia's phone buzzed nonstop, a symphony of notifications. News of what happened had spread like wildfire through their social circle. She had dozens of messages from friends, former colleagues, and even a few of Richard's more rebellious family members, ranging from expressions of shock and support to outrage and schadenfreude. She ignored most of them, responding only to her closest friends. To Zoe, she sent a simple, urgent message. "Breakfast. I need coffee and someone to help me process last night." They met at their favorite cafe an hour later. Zoe arrived looking tired but wired with excitement. "You're famous," she announced, sliding into the booth. "Everyone is talking about what happened." "I'm not sure that's a good thing," Olivia replied, sipping her latte, still processing the public nature of her recent actions. "Are you kidding? It's amazing. You stood up for yourself in the most epic way possible. It's a masterclass in reclaiming your power after betrayal. People will be talking about this for years." It was a stark reminder of the social currency of defiance, a moment where a woman chose her dignity over enduring public humiliation. Olivia smiled despite herself. It felt good. Scary, but good. A necessary kind of good. It was the feeling of taking back control, of refusing to be a victim. "So what happens now?" Zoe asked, her gaze intense. "Chicago in 2 weeks," Olivia confirmed. And nothing. I need to focus on this move, getting settled in my new job, building my life." "And Jackson?" Zoe raised an eyebrow, a knowing glint in her eyes. Olivia felt her cheeks warm. "We talked a bit after leaving the party. He was really supportive." "Just supportive?" Zoe pressed, clearly not satisfied. Zoe, it's way too soon for anything else. Besides, he lives here. I'll be in Chicago. It's a common hesitation after a major breakup, isn't it? The fear of rushing into something new, of using a new connection as a bandage for old wounds. Olivia needed space to heal, to find herself before finding someone else. He mentioned having projects there, Zoe pointed out, and flights exist. We'll see, Olivia said noncommittally, though the thought of Jackson in Chicago did bring a soft smile to her lips. After breakfast, Olivia went home to continue packing. She had just filled another box with books when her doorbell rang. Expecting Zoe, who had promised to bring packing supplies, she opened it without checking. Richard stood in the hallway, looking nothing like his usual polished self. His hair was rumpled, his eyes bloodshot, a picture of sleepless nights and growing desperation. "Can I come in?" he asked, his voice subdued. Olivia hesitated, then stepped aside. 5 minutes. It was a boundary, clearly set. Richard entered, taking in the half-packed apartment, the scattered boxes, the tangible evidence of her impending departure. "So you're really leaving?" "Yes, I told you that. I thought maybe you were just saying it for the party, for effect." The disbelief in his voice was palpable. He still couldn't quite grasp that she would actually prioritize herself over him, over the life he offered. Olivia shook her head. "No, it's real. I start my new job in 2 weeks. Richard nodded slowly, a dawning realization washing over his face. "My parents are furious. The whole family is." "I imagine they would be." "Not at you," Richard said, surprising her with his unexpected revelation. "At me? Why?" Olivia hadn't expected that twist. "For letting you go. For almost making a huge mistake." Richard stepped closer, his voice earnest, almost pleading. "Olivia, seeing you last night, seeing what I was about to lose, it made me realize how stupid I've been." "Richard, no." Olivia tried to cut him off, sensing where this was going. "Please listen," he interrupted, his desperation growing. "I love you. I've always loved you. I let my family get in my head, make me doubt what I knew was right, but I'm done with that now." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box, the kind of box that signaled a life-altering question. Olivia's heart sank. "Don't," she said firmly, her voice a warning. But Richard, oblivious in his desperate hope, continued as if she hadn't spoken, opening the box to reveal a stunning diamond ring that sparkled with the promise of forever. "Olivia Jones," he recited, "will you marry me? For real this time. No games, no family interference, just us." Olivia looked at the ring, then at Richard's hopeful, expectant face. Once, this would have been everything she wanted, the fairy tale ending she had unknowingly craved. Now, it felt like a step backward, a regression to a past she had painstakingly fought to escape. The ring, despite its brilliance, seemed tarnished by the history it represented. "No," she said simply, the word clear and unwavering. Richard blinked, clearly not expecting rejection. "What? No, Olivia, I won't marry you. But I thought, after everything we've been through..." He trailed off, confusion clouding his features. "That's just it," Olivia explained gently, choosing compassion over cruelty. "We've been through too much. The trust is broken. I can't go back to wondering if you really want me, or if you're just afraid of losing face." It was a profound statement about the irreversible damage of betrayal. You can forgive, but you cannot unbreak trust. "This isn't about saving face," Richard protested, a flicker of his old anger returning. "I talked to my parents last night, told them if they couldn't accept you, they couldn't be part of my life. Dad was furious, but Mom, I think she finally understands." "I'm glad," Olivia said sincerely. "But this isn't about your parents anymore. It's about us, about the fact that you were willing to publicly humiliate me rather than stand up for our relationship when it mattered most." "I made a mistake, a huge one," he pleaded. "But people make mistakes, Olivia. They deserve second chances." "Sometimes they do," she agreed. "But not this time, not with us." This was a powerful lesson. Second chances are earned, and some breaches are simply too deep to repair. Richard closed the ring box slowly, the click a mournful punctuation mark to their story. "Is it because of him? That guy from last night, Jackson?" "No," Olivia said, her voice gentle but firm. "This isn't about anyone else. It's about me finally seeing clearly what I need. And it's not this." She gestured vaguely between them. Not anymore. Richard looked utterly defeated. He put the ring box back in his pocket and moved toward the door. I really did love you, you know. I know, Olivia said softly. In your way. For what it's worth, I hope you find someone who makes you happy. Someone you're not afraid to stand up for. It was a gesture of peace, a recognition of his pain, but also a definitive closing of their chapter. After Richard left, Olivia sat among her half-packed boxes, feeling a strange mix of sadness and relief. Despite everything, a part of her would always care for Richard. They had shared 2 years of their lives, but she knew with absolute certainty that she had made the right choice. Her phone buzzed with a text from Jackson. Thinking about you today. Hope you're doing okay after last night. Olivia smiled, typing back, better than okay. Packing for Chicago and feeling good about the future. His response came quickly. Speaking of Chicago, I have a meeting there next week. Dinner while I'm in town? Olivia hesitated only briefly before replying. I'd like that. She set down her phone and returned to packing, a sense of lightness filling her. The past week had been a whirlwind of emotions, but now she could see the path ahead clearly. Chicago, a new job, new possibilities, and maybe, just maybe, a second chance with someone from her past who truly saw and valued her. The doorbell buzzed again. Zoe this time, arms full of bubble wrap and tape. You just missed Richard, Olivia told her, helping with the supplies. What? What did he want? To propose. Zoe nearly dropped the tape, her eyes wide with disbelief. He did what? Olivia laughed at her friend's incredulous expression. Don't worry, I said no. Good! The nerve of that man! Zoe shook her head. What did he think would happen? That you'd just forget everything and fall into his arms? Something like that, Olivia admitted. But enough about Richard. Help me pack these books so we can have wine and pizza after. As they worked, Olivia told Zoe about Jackson's text and his upcoming trip to Chicago. I knew it! Zoe exclaimed, her eyes gleaming. The universe is telling you something, Liv. The universe? Olivia said dryly. Or you're meddling. Can't it be both? Zoe grinned. By evening, most of Olivia's apartment was packed into boxes. Sitting on the floor with pizza and wine, she and Zoe toasted to new beginnings. I'm going to miss you like crazy, Zoe said suddenly, her voice serious. I'll miss you too. But you'll visit, right? Try and stop me, Zoe replied. Plus, I hear Chicago has some good-looking architects these days. Olivia threw a napkin at her friend, both of them laughing. For the first time in days, Olivia felt completely at peace with her decisions. Whatever came next, Chicago, her new job, possibly Jackson, she was ready to face it on her own terms, fueled by her own strength. 2 weeks passed in a blur of packing, heartfelt goodbyes, and finalizing the details for Olivia's move to Chicago. The night before her flight, Zoe threw her a small going-away party with their closest friends. Notably absent were Richard and anyone connected to him, a clean, definitive break. To Olivia, Zoe toasted, raising her glass. May Chicago be lucky enough to deserve you. The next morning, Olivia boarded her flight with mixed emotions. Excitement for her new beginning competed with a natural nervousness about leaving everything familiar behind. But as the plane took off, a profound sense of liberation filled her, lifting her spirits along with the aircraft. This was her choice, her path forward, unburdened by past expectations or the judgments of others. Chicago greeted her with windy sunshine, a brisk, invigorating welcome. Her new company had arranged temporary housing for her first month, a furnished apartment with stunning views of Lake Michigan. After the moving company delivered her boxes, Olivia spent her first evening unpacking essentials, then stood on her small balcony, watching the city lights reflect on the vast expanse of water. It felt like a fresh canvas, a place where she could paint her own future. Her phone buzzed with a text from Jackson. Landed in Chicago, still up for dinner tomorrow? They had kept in touch during the 2 weeks since Richard's party, their texts evolving from casual check-ins to longer, more meaningful conversations. Olivia found herself genuinely looking forward to seeing him again. Definitely, she replied. Let me know where and when. Her first day at the new job went better than she could have hoped. The company culture was exactly as promised. creative, supportive, and refreshingly free of the toxic office politics she'd endured at her previous position. Her team welcomed her warmly, and her boss, Catherine, spent an hour outlining the exciting projects they wanted her to lead. "We've been following your work for years," Catherine told her, a testament to Olivia's quiet dedication. "Those campaigns you designed for Metro Media were brilliant." "Thank you," Olivia said, genuinely surprised. "I didn't realize my work had reached Chicago." "Good talent gets noticed," Catherine replied, a warm smile on her face. "That's why we were so persistent about bringing you here." By the end of the day, Olivia felt energized rather than drained, a welcome change from her last job, where every day felt like an uphill battle. She rushed home to change for dinner with Jackson, choosing a simple blue dress that complemented her eyes. They met at a restaurant near the riverfront, its large windows offering picturesque views of boats passing by. Jackson was already seated when she arrived, standing to greet her with a warm, easy hug. "Chicago looks good on you," he said, holding her at arm's length to truly look at her. "One day in and you're already glowing." "First day went well," Olivia admitted as they sat down. "What brings you to town? Business?" "Partly," Jackson replied, opening his menu. "I'm meeting with a potential client tomorrow who wants to build a sustainable office complex, but honestly, I also wanted to see how you were settling in." Olivia smiled, genuinely touched by his thoughtfulness. "That's sweet of you." "Not entirely selfless," Jackson admitted with a grin. "I've enjoyed reconnecting these past couple weeks." Their conversation flowed easily through dinner, jumping from work to shared memories of college to their favorite parts of Chicago. Olivia found herself laughing more freely, more genuinely, than she had in months. "I forgot how easy it is to talk to you," she said as they shared a dessert. "Same here," Jackson replied. "Some things don't change, I guess." After dinner, they walked along the riverfront, the night air cool but pleasant. Jackson pointed out buildings he admired, explaining their architectural features with an infectious enthusiasm that Olivia found utterly charming. "Sorry," he said, catching himself mid-explanation about a particularly unique skyscraper. "I can get carried away talking about buildings." "Don't apologize," Olivia said, taking his hand. "I like hearing you talk about things you're passionate about." Their eyes met, and for a moment, Olivia thought he might kiss her. Instead, Jackson squeezed her hand gently before letting go. "I should get you home," he said. "You have work tomorrow." At her apartment door, Jackson lingered. "I'll be in town until Friday. Dinner again before I leave?" "I'd like that," Olivia replied. This time he did kiss her, a soft, brief touch of lips that left her wanting more. "Good night, Liv," he whispered before walking away. Inside her apartment, Olivia touched her lips, smiling to herself. It wasn't a romance rekindled, not yet, but it felt like the beginning of something genuine, something that had nothing to do with Richard or the past, and everything to do with who she was now and who she was becoming. It felt like a future. Over the next few weeks, Olivia threw herself into her new life with gusto. Her work was challenging and rewarding, her coworkers quickly becoming trusted friends. She explored Chicago whenever she had free time, discovering favorite cafes, hidden parks, and charming independent bookstores. Jackson's visits became regular. He had indeed won that client contract, giving him a valid reason to be in Chicago at least twice a month. Each time they grew closer, building a connection that felt both comfortably familiar and excitingly new. Meanwhile, Zoe kept her updated on the gossip from back home. Richard had apparently left town shortly after Olivia, taking an extended vacation that many suspected was a strategic retreat to avoid facing the social fallout from his birthday party debacle. "His family's doing damage control," Zoe told her during one of their video calls. "Throwing money at charities that support women of color, suddenly very concerned with diversity. It's hilariously transparent." "At least some good came out of it," Olivia replied, not particularly interested in Richard's affairs anymore. His actions, once so central to her pain, now felt distant, irrelevant to her flourishing life. "Enough about him," Zoe said, waving her hand dismissively. "Tell me about Architect Boy. When do I get to visit and meet version 2.0 of your relationship?" Olivia laughed. "Soon, once I'm settled in my permanent apartment." 3 months after moving to Chicago, Olivia found the perfect place, a cozy two-bedroom condo in a diverse neighborhood with tree-lined streets, a place that immediately felt like home. The second bedroom would be her dedicated home office for the freelance design work she had eagerly started doing again, reclaiming that lost passion. Jackson helped her move in, his architectural eye proving invaluable for measuring spaces and offering design suggestions. They worked together seamlessly, their styles complementing each other, a preview of a shared future. "This place suits you," he said as they collapsed onto her new couch after a long day of unpacking. "It feels like home already," Olivia agreed, resting her head on his shoulder, a deep sense of contentment washing over her. Jackson turned to face her, his expression suddenly serious. "Liv, there's something I need to tell you." Her heart skipped a beat, a sudden rush of apprehension. "What is it?" "I've been offered a project in Chicago, a big one. It would mean relocating here for at least a year, maybe longer." Olivia sat up straighter, her eyes searching his. "Are you going to take it?" "I wanted to talk to you first," Jackson said, taking her hand, his touch warm and reassuring. "We've been taking things slow, and I respect that. After what happened with Richard, I understand why you need space and time." "Jackson," Olivia interrupted, but he gently shook his head. "Let me finish," he said softly. "I've fallen for you all over again, Olivia, but I don't want to pressure you. If my being here would complicate things, I can turn down the project." It was an offer of unconditional support, a stark contrast to Richard's self-serving demands. Olivia stared at him, touched by his profound consideration, but also utterly amused by the idea. "You'd turn down a major project for me?" "In a heartbeat," he replied without hesitation, his sincerity undeniable. She leaned forward and kissed him deeply, a kiss filled with gratitude, affection, and a burgeoning love. When they broke apart, breathless and smiling, she said, "That's exactly why you don't need to take the project, Jackson. I want you here." His smile lit up his entire face. "Yeah?" "Yeah," she confirmed. "I've fallen for you too." That night, they made love for the first time since reconnecting. It was tender at first, a gentle re-exploration, then passionate, a physical expression of the profound feelings that had been growing between them for months. Afterward, lying in each other's arms, Olivia felt a sense of complete peace and belonging. Chicago was truly home now, and so was Jackson. "Move in with me," she said suddenly, the words feeling utterly right. Jackson lifted his head to look at her, a playful disbelief in his eyes. "What?" "Move in with me when you relocate for the project. This place has plenty of room and—" He silenced her with a kiss, a joyful, resounding affirmation. "Yes," he said against her lips, "absolutely yes." Olivia fell asleep that night, feeling like her life had come full circle in the best possible way. What had started as excruciating heartbreak had led her here, to a career she loved, a city that energized her, and a man who respected and adored her for exactly who she was, without condition or compromise. Richard Walker and his family seemed like a distant memory now, a closed chapter. Ahead of her stretched a future full of possibilities, all of her own making. This was the true magic of choosing yourself. 6 months into her Chicago life, Olivia had found her rhythm, a harmonious balance that felt deeply fulfilling. Her job continually challenged and excited her, each project a new opportunity to innovate and excel. Her co-workers had transitioned into a small but solid circle of friends, offering camaraderie and support. Her relationship with Jackson was thriving, deepening with each passing day. Jackson had moved in 3 months ago when his major Chicago project officially began. They had settled into domestic life with surprising ease, their habits and routines meshing naturally, a testament to their inherent compatibility. His architectural drafting table fit perfectly in the corner of their living room, a symbol of his passion, while Olivia's home office occupied the second bedroom, a sanctuary for her creative endeavors. It was a partnership built on shared ambitions, mutual respect, and an abundance of genuine affection. On a crisp autumn morning, Olivia was presenting to her team about an upcoming campaign, radiating the confidence of a woman in her element, when her phone vibrated repeatedly in her pocket. She ignored it until the meeting ended, then checked to find 3 missed calls from Zoe and a text that simply read, "Call me ASAP." Worried, Olivia stepped into an empty conference room and called her friend. Finally, Zoe answered immediately, her voice a mix of urgency and barely contained gossip. You're not going to believe this. What's wrong? Are you okay? Olivia asked, a knot of concern forming in her stomach. I'm fine, but you need to know something. Richard Walker is in Chicago. Olivia frowned, the name a faint echo from a past life. What? Why? Walker Industries is acquiring some tech company there. It was just announced this morning. Richard's leading the transition team, which means he'll be in Chicago for at least 6 months. Olivia's stomach tightened slightly, a momentary flicker of old emotions, but the feeling passed quickly, replaced by a sense of calm detachment. It's a big city. I probably won't even run into him. That's what I thought too, Zoe said, until I saw the name of the tech company. Check your email. Olivia opened her inbox to find a message from Zoe with a news article attached. The headline read, Walker Industries acquires Innovate in multi-million-dollar deal. Oh, Olivia said quietly, her voice tinged with a familiar irony. Isn't that? Yes, Olivia confirmed, the realization hitting her. Innovate is one of our biggest clients. Her company handled all marketing for Innovate, which meant she would almost certainly cross paths with Richard eventually. The universe, it seemed, had a darkly poetic sense of humor, bringing the past crashing into her perfectly constructed present. Are you okay? Zoe asked, her voice softening with concern. I'm fine, Olivia said, surprised to realize it was genuinely true. It's been almost 8 months since everything happened. I've moved on. It was a testament to her healing, to her growth, that the news, which once would have sent her spiraling, now felt like a mere inconvenience. Just thought you should know before you ran into him unexpectedly. I appreciate it. I'll tell Jackson tonight. When she did tell Jackson over dinner, his reaction was calm but concerned. Does it bother you? He asked, his eyes searching hers. The idea of seeing him again? Olivia considered this question carefully. Not in the way you might think. I don't have feelings for him anymore, but it might be awkward. And I won't pretend that old wound didn't exist, but it's scarred over now. It was a mature perspective, acknowledging the past without letting it define her present. Jackson reached across the table and took her hand, his presence a grounding force. If it becomes a problem, we can figure it out. You could ask to be removed from the Innovate account, or— No, Olivia said firmly, cutting him off. I won't let Richard's presence affect my work. I'm lead on that account, and I'm good at it. Besides, I have nothing to be ashamed of or to hide from. Her resolve was unshakable. This wasn't just about a client. It was about protecting her professional territory and asserting her newfound confidence. Jackson smiled, a look of profound admiration in his eyes. That's my girl. 2 weeks later, the inevitable happened. Olivia was at Innovate's offices for a meeting about transitioning their marketing strategy under the new ownership. She had just finished setting up her presentation when the conference room door opened and Richard walked in, followed by several Walker Industries executives. He stopped short when he saw her, clearly not having been warned about her involvement either. For a moment, they just stared at each other, the weight of their shared history palpable in the suddenly silent room. Richard recovered first, his professional mask sliding into place. Olivia, he said, his voice measured. I didn't realize you handled Innovate's marketing. For the past 5 months, she replied, keeping her voice neutral, allowing no emotion to betray her inner calm. One of the Innovate executives looked between them, a flicker of curiosity in his eyes. You two know each other? We're acquainted, Richard said smoothly, his usual charm returning, from back east. The meeting proceeded professionally, if somewhat tensely. Olivia presented her team's ideas with unwavering confidence, answering questions and addressing concerns with her customary expertise. Richard was cordial but distant, focusing on the business aspects rather than engaging with her directly. It was a dance of polite professionalism, a testament to how far they had both come, or at least how well they could compartmentalize. Afterward, as everyone was gathering their materials to leave, Richard approached her. You seem well, he said quietly, his voice lacking its former arrogance. I am, Olivia replied. Very well, actually. Good. He hesitated, a flicker of something unreadable in his eyes. I didn't know you worked with Innovate when we made the acquisition. Would it have made a difference? Olivia asked, a hint of challenge in her voice. No, he admitted, surprisingly honest. The deal makes sense regardless, but I would have prepared myself better for seeing you. Olivia nodded. Well, now we've gotten the first encounter over with. We can be professional moving forward." Richard studied her face, a contemplative look in his eyes. "You've changed." "Yes," she agreed, meeting his gaze directly. "I have. Chicago suits you." His eyes dropped to her left hand, noting the absence of any ring, a subtle but unmistakable inquiry. "Are you with anyone?" "Yes," Olivia said, feeling no need to elaborate, her answer a quiet but firm declaration. "I should go. I have another meeting." As she gathered her materials, Richard said, "For what it's worth, I'm sorry for everything that happened. You deserved better." Olivia looked up, meeting his gaze directly, a profound sense of peace within her. "Yes, I did, and now I have it." She walked out without looking back, her heels clicking confidently on the marble floor, a symphony of self-possession. Outside, she took a deep breath of the crisp Chicago air. Seeing Richard had been less dramatic than she might have expected. He was just a person from her past now, not the villain, not the one who got away, just someone she used to know. A chapter closed definitively. That evening, she recounted the meeting to Jackson as they cooked dinner together, the familiar rhythm of their shared activity, a comforting counterpoint to the day's encounter. "How did it feel?" he asked, sensing her internal processing. "Seeing him again?" "Strangely normal," Olivia replied, chopping vegetables with a practiced hand. "Like running into an old colleague. He didn't have any power over my emotions." It was the ultimate victory, not just over Richard, but over the pain he had caused. Jackson smiled. "That's how you know you've really moved on." "He asked if I was with anyone," Olivia mentioned casually, stirring a pot on the stove. "And what did you say?" Jackson asked, his voice suddenly laced with anticipation. "Just yes, I didn't elaborate." Jackson set down his knife and turned to her, a mischievous glint in his eyes. "Maybe we should elaborate a bit." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box, not velvet like Richard's had been, but a simple, beautifully grained wooden one, handcrafted and unique. "I've been carrying this around for weeks, waiting for the right moment," Jackson said, his voice slightly nervous, his usual composure giving way to tender vulnerability. "This probably isn't it, standing in our kitchen with half-chopped onions and simmering sauce, but somehow it feels right anyway." Olivia's heart raced as he opened the box, revealing a stunning emerald ring set in gold. "I remembered you once said you preferred colored stones to diamonds," Jackson said softly, "that they had more character, more life." "You remembered that?" Olivia whispered, tears forming in her eyes. It was the small details, the things he saw and remembered about her, that made all the difference. "I remember everything about you, Liv. The good and the bad, the dreams and the fears. I love all of it, all of you." He took a deep breath, his eyes shining with profound emotion. "I'm not asking because of Richard being in town, or because of anything to do with the past. I'm asking because I want a future with you. Will you marry me?" Tears spilled down Olivia's cheeks as she nodded, unable to speak past the joyful lump in her throat. "Yes, absolutely. Yes." Jackson slipped the ring onto her finger, the cool emerald a perfect fit, then pulled her into a kiss that felt like a promise, a culmination of all the detours and triumphs that had led them here. When they finally broke apart, both smiling through tears, Olivia looked down at her ring. "It's perfect," she said. "You're perfect." "Not perfect," Jackson corrected gently, "but perfect for you. At least I try to be." That night, as they lay in bed together, Olivia thought about the strange twists of fate that had brought her to this moment. If Richard hadn't planned to dump her, if she hadn't seen that text, if she hadn't moved to Chicago, so many ifs that had ultimately led to the most right thing in her life. It was a profound reminder that sometimes the universe's detours are actually the most direct path to where we're meant to be. "What are you thinking about?" Jackson asked, tracing patterns on her bare shoulder. "How sometimes the worst moments can lead to the best ones," Olivia replied, her voice soft with reflection. "How losing what I thought I wanted helped me find what I actually needed." Jackson pulled her closer, his arms a comforting embrace. "When do you want to tell people?" "Let's call our families tomorrow," Olivia said. "And I need to tell Zoe before she finds out from someone else. She'd never forgive me." "And your team at work?" Olivia hesitated. "I'll tell Catherine first, then the team. The news will spread." "Including to Richard," Jackson said, not asking, simply stating the inevitable. "Including to Richard," Olivia confirmed. "But that's not why I want to share it. I'm just happy and I don't want to hide it. This was her truth, her unburdened joy. Jackson kissed her forehead. I love you, Olivia Jones. Soon to be Olivia Chin, she replied with a smile, the new name feeling like a perfectly tailored garment. Only if you want, he said, ever respectful of her autonomy. Your name is yours. I want, she assured him, a deep sense of belonging settling within her. I very much want. As she drifted off to sleep, her new ring catching moonlight from the window, Olivia felt utterly complete. The journey that had begun with profound pain had led to a joy beyond what she could have imagined, and she was ready for whatever came next. News of Olivia and Jackson's engagement spread quickly, a joyous ripple through their respective circles. Their families were thrilled. Jackson's parents had always liked Olivia during their college days, and her family, who had yet to meet Jackson in person, were delighted by how genuinely happy he made their daughter. Zoe's reaction, predictably, was enthusiastically over the top. I knew it, she crowed during their video call, practically bouncing off the walls. The moment I saw you two together at Richard's party, I knew this would happen. You did not, Olivia laughed, a genuine mirthful sound. Did too, you just had that chemistry, the kind that doesn't go away even after years apart, Zoe insisted, ever the romantic. They set the wedding date for the following spring. Olivia wanted something intimate and meaningful, a small ceremony in Chicago with just family and close friends, the antithesis of the elaborate, showy society wedding she would have had with Richard. This was about genuine connection, not performance. At work, her colleagues were genuinely happy for her. Catherine pulled her aside to offer congratulations. Jackson seems wonderful, she said warmly. I met him at the company holiday party, remember? The way he looks at you says everything. Thank you, Olivia replied, her heart swelling with affection for her fiancé. He is wonderful. Catherine hesitated before adding, Richard Walker asked about you in our executive meeting yesterday. Olivia kept her expression neutral, her internal world now impervious to Richard's actions. Oh, nothing inappropriate, Catherine quickly assured her. Just mentioned that you two had history and asked how you were doing here. I told him you were one of our most valuable team members. I appreciate that, Olivia said. He seemed, I don't know, wistful maybe, Catherine mused. I heard through the grapevine that he's still single. Apparently he even turned down an arranged match his parents tried to set up. Olivia simply nodded, not particularly interested in Richard's personal life anymore. Her compassion had replaced her bitterness, but not her interest. The Innovate transition is going well, she said, subtly changing the subject. We should have the new branding rollout ready next month. Olivia managed to avoid direct contact with Richard for several weeks, communicating through emails and team meetings when necessary, maintaining a professional distance. But their paths were destined to cross again at a charity gala hosted by Innovate to celebrate the successful acquisition. Olivia attended with Jackson, both of them dressed elegantly for the black tie event, a confident, united front. They were chatting with Catherine and her husband when Richard approached, champagne glass in hand. Olivia, he greeted her, his voice devoid of any past tension, then nodded to Jackson. Good to see you both. Richard, Olivia replied, a pleasant smile on her face. Have you met my fiancé, Jackson Chin? Richard's eyes flickered to her emerald ring, then back to her face, a complex blend of surprise and something akin to acceptance in their depths. Fiancé, congratulations. When's the happy day? Spring, Jackson answered, his arm comfortable and reassuring around Olivia's waist. Just a small ceremony. Richard nodded, looking between them, a genuine, albeit slightly melancholic smile appearing. You make a good couple. I can see that. The conversation might have become awkward, a tense reliving of the past, if not for Catherine smoothly drawing Richard into a discussion about the charity the gala was supporting. Olivia and Jackson gracefully excused themselves to mingle with other guests. That wasn't so bad, Jackson whispered as they walked away. No, Olivia agreed, almost civil. It was a testament to her healing, to her ability to move past the hurt, that she could encounter him without emotional upheaval. Later in the evening, while Jackson was deep in conversation with an architect he admired, Olivia found herself alone at the bar waiting for drinks. Richard appeared beside her, a quiet presence. Your ring suits you, he said quietly, his voice thoughtful. More than a diamond would have. Olivia glanced at him, surprised by the astute observation. "Thank you. He knows you well." "Yes," she agreed, "he does." Richard was silent for a moment, then said, almost tentatively, "I've been seeing someone, a professor at Northwestern. My parents don't approve." The echo of their own past was undeniable. "And how do you feel about that disapproval now?" Olivia couldn't help asking, a genuine curiosity replacing any former resentment. Richard met her eyes, a faint, rueful smile on his lips. "I don't care anymore. You taught me that lesson at least." "I'm glad," Olivia said sincerely. It was a profound moment, a recognition of mutual growth, even if it had come through pain. "Are you happy, Olivia? Truly happy?" He seemed to need this confirmation, a measure of her peace. She looked across the room to where Jackson stood, his face animated as he talked about his passion, his eyes shining with life. Yes, she thought, this is what true happiness looks like. "Yes," she said, her voice soft but firm. "Completely." Richard nodded, a sad but accepting smile playing on his lips. "Good. You deserve that." He raised his glass slightly. "No hard feelings?" Olivia considered for a moment, then clinked her glass against his. "No hard feelings." They both knew it wasn't quite that simple. The hurt he had caused couldn't be erased entirely. But Olivia felt no anger anymore, no bitterness, just a peaceful acceptance that everything had worked out as it should for both of them. The bartender returned with her drinks, and she excused herself to rejoin Jackson. As she walked away, she felt Richard's eyes on her back, but didn't turn around. Their chapter was closed. The weeks turned into months. Spring approached, bringing with it not only wedding preparations, but exciting career developments for both Olivia and Jackson. Olivia was promoted to creative director, a testament to her innovative vision and leadership, while Jackson's Chicago project earned accolades for its sustainable design, gaining national recognition. 1 week before their wedding, they received an unexpected delivery, a large, carefully packaged box from Richard Walker. Inside was an exquisite handcrafted dining table made from reclaimed wood, its smooth surface radiating warmth and character. The card read simply, "Every home needs a beautiful place to gather and share meals. May yours be filled with joy. Congratulations, Richard." "Should we keep it?" Jackson asked, running his hand over the smooth surface, a hint of curiosity in his voice. Olivia studied the table. It was genuinely beautiful and exactly their style, perfectly fitting their new home. "Yes," she decided. "It can be a reminder." "Of what?" "That sometimes people can surprise you. That endings can lead to beginnings. That everything happens for a reason." Jackson pulled her into his arms, a gentle squeeze acknowledging the wisdom in her words. "When did you get so wise?" he murmured playfully. "When I stopped trying to be what someone else wanted and started being myself," she replied, resting her head on his shoulder, a profound sense of self-acceptance enveloping her. Their wedding day dawned clear and bright, a perfect spring morning. They exchanged vows in a sunlit greenhouse conservatory, surrounded by blooming flowers and the people they loved most. Zoe, as maid of honor, cried more than anyone else, her joy overflowing. "You did it, Liv," she whispered as they hugged after the ceremony. "You found your happy ending." "Not an ending," Olivia corrected, looking over at Jackson, who was laughing with his parents, his face alight with happiness. "A beginning." That night, at their small, elegant reception in a restaurant overlooking the lake, Olivia looked around at the faces of her loved ones, her parents, Jackson's family, Zoe, colleagues who had become friends, even a few familiar faces from her old life who had made the trip to Chicago. Richard wasn't there, of course, but his thoughtful gift was acknowledged, his unexpected part in her journey recognized. Without that painful text message over a year ago, without his planned betrayal, she might never have found the courage to reclaim her life, to open herself to real, unconditional love. As Jackson led her onto the dance floor for their first dance as husband and wife, Olivia felt a sense of complete fulfillment, a profound gratitude for every step of her winding path. The music swelled, Jackson's arms held her close, and she knew with absolute certainty that she was exactly where she was meant to be. "What are you thinking?" Jackson murmured against her ear as they swayed to the music. "That sometimes the worst moment of your life can lead to the best," she replied, her voice soft with contentment. "That sometimes people don't realize what they have until it's gone." His loss, Jackson said simply, his voice rich with affection. My gain. Olivia smiled up at her husband, her heart full. And mine. As they danced, Chicago's skyline glittered beyond the windows, a majestic backdrop to their burgeoning future. The same city that had welcomed her when she was brokenhearted, that had given her the space to heal, to grow, to become fully herself. She had arrived alone, carrying little more than hope, but now she was surrounded by love, building a life with a man who saw her completely and cherished what he saw. The journey from that devastating text message to this perfect moment hadn't been easy. There had been tears, doubt, and fear along the way. But standing here now in Jackson's arms, with their whole future stretching before them, Olivia knew one thing for certain. She wouldn't change a single step of the path that had led her home. 1 year into their marriage, life had settled into a happy, vibrant rhythm for Olivia and Jackson. Their careers continued to flourish. Olivia's agency had won several prestigious awards under her creative direction, solidifying her reputation as one of the industry's leading talents, while Jackson's sustainable building designs were gaining national recognition, admired for their innovation and environmental consciousness. They had bought a house together, a charming renovated brownstone in a leafy Chicago neighborhood, with enough space for Jackson's home studio and Olivia's ever-growing collection of art and books. Richard's dining table occupied a place of honor in their dining room, a daily quiet reminder of how unexpected twists and turns could lead to beautiful destinations, a symbol of growth and forgiveness. Richard himself had become a distant figure in their lives. His company still owned Innovate, but he had returned to New York after the transition was complete, reportedly still dating the Northwestern professor, Elena, despite his family's continued disapproval. It seemed Olivia's journey had, in a way, liberated him too, allowing him to finally prioritize his own happiness over his family's expectations. On a sunny morning in early summer, Olivia sat at her doctor's office, waiting for test results. She'd been feeling unusually tired lately, occasionally nauseated in the mornings. At first, she'd attributed it to the stress of a major campaign launch, but when the symptoms persisted, she'd made an appointment. Mrs. Chin? The doctor entered with a warm smile. I have your results. 10 minutes later, Olivia walked out in a daze, a piece of paper clutched in her hand and a kaleidoscope of emotions swirling inside her. She called Jackson immediately. Can you meet me for lunch? She asked when he answered. It's important. Is everything okay? Concern filled his voice. Yes, she assured him, a wide smile spreading across her face. More than okay. I just need to see you. They met at a small cafe near their house, one of their favorite spots, a cozy haven of shared moments. Jackson was already waiting, his face etched with anxiety, until he saw her radiant smile. What's going on? He asked as she sat down. In answer, Olivia placed the paper on the table, an ultrasound image, barely showing anything recognizable to untrained eyes. But to her, it was a universe. I'm pregnant, she said softly, the words a joyous whisper. Jackson stared at the image, then at her, his expression transforming from shock to wonder to pure, unadulterated joy. We're having a baby? Olivia nodded, tears of happiness filling her eyes. 8 weeks along, due in January. Jackson moved to her side of the table, pulling her into a gentle, heartfelt embrace. A baby, he whispered against her hair, his voice thick with emotion. Our baby. They spent the rest of lunch talking excitedly, their voices hushed with awe and anticipation, nursery designs, name ideas, and how to tell their families. Both agreed to wait until the 3-month mark before sharing the news widely. But they couldn't resist telling Zoe, who screamed so loudly over the phone that Olivia had to hold it away from her ear. I'm going to be an auntie, Zoe exclaimed, the coolest, most fashionable auntie ever. As summer turned to fall, Olivia's pregnancy progressed smoothly, each week bringing new miracles. Her small baby bump was just becoming noticeable when she received an unexpected email from her old company, Back East. They were hosting a major marketing industry awards ceremony and wanted her to attend as an honored guest. Her groundbreaking Chicago campaigns had truly put her on the map as one of the industry's leading creatives. You should go, Jackson encouraged when she showed him the invitation. You've earned the recognition. This is a big deal, Liv. It would mean going back there, Olivia said, a faint shadow of hesitation in her voice. Possibly seeing people from my old life. Would that be so bad? Jackson asked gently. You're not the same person who left. You're stronger now, more confident. You're going back on your terms as the incredible woman you are. His words were a powerful affirmation of her growth. After careful consideration, Olivia accepted the invitation. The ceremony would take place when she was 5 months pregnant, still comfortable enough to travel, but visibly expecting. There was something fitting, even poetic, about returning to her old city this way, successful in both her career and personal life, beyond what she could have imagined when she had so desperately fled. Catherine, her boss, insisted on accompanying her. We're showcasing our star talent, she said with a grin, when Olivia protested that she didn't need a chaperone. Besides, I want to network with East Coast clients. They flew in the day before the ceremony. Olivia had arranged dinner with Zoe that evening, a reunion she eagerly anticipated, while Catherine met with business associates. Zoe was waiting at the restaurant when Olivia arrived, jumping up to embrace her friend, carefully navigating around her baby bump. "Look at you," Zoe exclaimed, stepping back to take in Olivia's glowing appearance. "Pregnancy agrees with you." "Most days," Olivia laughed, "when I'm not craving pickles dipped in ice cream." They settled in, catching up on everything that had happened in the months since Zoe's last visit to Chicago. Halfway through dinner, Zoe's expression turned serious. "There's something you should know," she said, her voice dropping conspiratorially, "about tomorrow's ceremony." Olivia set down her fork, a familiar sense of foreboding. "What is it?" "Richard will be there. Walker Industries is one of the sponsors." Olivia nodded slowly, a quiet acceptance in her eyes. "I figured he might be. It's okay, Zoe. We've seen each other since everything happened. It's not dramatic anymore." "There's more," Zoe said hesitantly. "He's engaged to the professor from Northwestern. They're making their first official appearance as a couple." For a moment, Olivia was silent, processing this information. Then she smiled, genuinely, a warmth spreading through her chest. "Good for him. It sounds like he finally stood up to his family." "You really mean that?" Zoe studied her face, searching for any hint of lingering pain. "I do," Olivia confirmed. "Everyone deserves to be happy, Zoe, even Richard." Her ability to wish him well was a true measure of her own peace. Later that night, back in her hotel room, Olivia told Jackson about Richard's engagement during their nightly video call. "How do you feel about it?" Jackson asked, his face serious on the screen, always attuned to her emotions. "Honestly, happy for him," Olivia replied. "He's making better choices now. Maybe what happened between us taught him something valuable just as it taught me." Jackson's face softened. "You're amazing. You know that? Most people wouldn't be so gracious." "It's easy to be gracious when you're this happy," Olivia said, running a loving hand over her baby bump, a profound sense of gratitude enveloping her. "Besides, I owe Richard in a weird way. If he hadn't planned to dump me, I might never have found my way back to you. To this." The awards ceremony the next evening was held in the grand ballroom of the same hotel where Richard's birthday party had taken place almost 2 years earlier. Olivia couldn't help but appreciate the symmetry as she entered, now 5 months pregnant and being honored for her professional achievements, a powerful symbol of transformation. She wore a flowing emerald gown that beautifully complemented her ring and flattered her changing body, her hair swept up elegantly, a picture of grace and quiet strength. Catherine walked beside her, pointing out industry figures they should connect with. "Olivia Jones!" She turned to see David Warner, her former boss, approaching with a wide smile, a hint of surprise in his eyes. "It's Chin now," she corrected with a radiant smile, accepting his kiss on the cheek. "Good to see you, David." "You look magnificent," he said, his gaze lingering on her baby bump. "Chicago has clearly been good to you." "The best decision I ever made," Olivia agreed, her voice full of conviction. Throughout the pre-ceremony reception, Olivia was approached by former colleagues and industry peers, all eager to congratulate her on both her professional success and her impending motherhood. She moved through the crowd with an easy confidence, aware of how profoundly different she felt from the last time she'd been in this hotel, no longer a person trying to fit in, but a woman celebrating her authentic self. She was chatting with a group of advertisers when she felt a presence at her elbow. Turning, she found Richard and a striking woman with silver-streaked dark hair beside him. "Olivia," Richard said warmly, his voice genuinely pleasant, "You look wonderful." "Thank you," she replied, then turned to the woman, offering a warm smile. "You must be Dr. Winters. I've heard you're an exceptional professor." The woman looked surprised but pleased. "Call me Elena, please, and thank you, though I'm curious who's been talking about my teaching." "Chicago's a smaller world than it seems," Olivia said with a knowing smile. "Congratulations on your engagement." Elena glanced at Richard with obvious affection, a soft smile on her lips. "Thank you. It was quite the surprise proposal, right in the middle of one of my lectures." Richard actually blushed, a rare sight. "I couldn't wait until after class." "I'm happy for you both," Olivia said sincerely, meaning every word. "And we for you," Richard replied, his gaze falling to her pregnancy. "When are you due?" "January," Olivia told them. "A New Year's baby, perhaps." They chatted amicably for a few minutes, a truly civil and pleasant exchange, before being interrupted by the announcement that the ceremony was about to begin. As they started to move toward their tables, Richard touched Olivia's arm lightly. "I want to thank you," he said quietly, while Elena was greeting someone else, giving them a moment of privacy. "For what?" Olivia asked, genuinely curious. "For helping me become a better person." His eyes were earnest, reflecting a humility she had never seen in him before. "What I did, what I almost did to you, was unforgivable. But it made me look hard at myself, at the kind of man I was becoming. I didn't like what I saw." It was a confession, a profound acknowledgement of his past mistakes, and a testament to the transformative power of hitting rock bottom. Olivia studied his face, seeing genuine change there, a softening around the edges. "We all make mistakes, Richard. What matters is learning from them, Mom." "I have," he assured her. "Elena's family doesn't come from money. They're academics, lived paycheck to paycheck. My parents tried every trick in the book to break us up." He smiled ruefully. "Sound familiar?" "Very," Olivia acknowledged, a shared understanding passing between them. "But this time, I chose differently. Told them they could accept Elena or lose me." His expression softened, a profound sense of peace settling on him. "I wish I'd had the courage to do that for you." "It wasn't meant to be," Olivia said simply. "We weren't right for each other, Richard. Look at us now, both where we're supposed to be." Richard nodded, then reached into his pocket and handed her a small envelope. "A gift for the baby. Nothing extravagant, I promise." Olivia opened it to find a gift certificate for a charming children's bookstore in Chicago. The note read, "For the little one's first library, knowledge is the most valuable gift. R." "Thank you," she said, genuinely touched by the thoughtfulness, the personal touch. "This is perfect." As they parted ways to find their tables, Olivia felt a sense of closure more complete than she'd ever expected. The past was truly in the past now, with no lingering resentment or pain. It was a beautiful, unexpected grace. During the ceremony, Olivia received a standing ovation when she accepted her award for innovation in digital marketing. Looking out at the crowd, at her former colleagues, at Catherine beaming proudly, at Richard and Elena applauding sincerely, she felt a profound gratitude for every step of her journey, even the painful ones. Her story was a powerful testament to resilience, to the strength found in choosing yourself. Later, back in her hotel room, she video called Jackson again to share her triumph. "I wish you could have been there," she told him, holding up her gleaming award for the camera. "Me too," he said, his smile radiating pride. "But I'll be waiting when you get home tomorrow. I'm so proud of you, Liv." As she packed for her return flight the next morning, Olivia reflected on how much had changed since she'd last left the city. She had arrived in Chicago broken-hearted but determined, carrying little more than hope and courage. Now she was returning with an award, a successful career, a loving husband waiting for her, and a baby growing inside her. Life had a way of coming full circle, she thought, not returning you to where you started, but bringing you to where you were always meant to be. The holidays arrived with a flurry of snow and festive cheer in Chicago. Olivia, now 8 months pregnant, had lovingly decorated their brownstone with evergreen garlands and twinkling lights, transforming it into a cozy, magical haven. It was their second Christmas as a married couple, but their first in their new home, and Olivia wanted it to be truly special. "Should you be up on that stepladder?" Jackson asked worriedly as he came in to find her hanging delicate ornaments on their tall Christmas tree, a comical mix of affection and paternal concern in his voice. "I'm pregnant, not an invalid," Olivia replied playfully, though she did allow him to help her down and take over the higher decorations, recognizing his loving concern. Their families were arriving in 2 days to spend Christmas with them, their first holiday together as blended families. Olivia's parents had never met Jackson's in person, though they had connected warmly over video calls during the wedding planning. "Do you think they'll get along?" Olivia asked, a touch of nervousness in her voice as they arranged presents under the tree. "They'll love each other," Jackson assured her, his voice full of certainty. "They already have the most important thing in common." "What's that?" "They're about to become grandparents to the world's most perfect baby," Jackson declared, his pride radiating. Olivia laughed, resting a hand on her beautifully rounded belly. "You're biased." "Completely," Jackson agreed, leaning down to kiss her, a moment of pure, tender intimacy. The baby, a girl they had decided to name Lily, was due in the second week of January. The nursery was ready, painted a soft mint green with delicate floral designs that Jackson had created himself, a labor of love. Olivia often found herself standing in the doorway, imagining their daughter sleeping peacefully in the white crib, playing on the plush rug, growing up in this home filled with an abundance of love, joy, and acceptance. When their families arrived, the house filled with a delightful cacophony of warmth and laughter. Jackson's parents brought homemade Chinese dishes, fragrant and delicious, while Olivia's mother contributed her famous sweet potato pie, a taste of home. The two mothers bonded instantly over recipes and baby preparations, sharing stories and advice, while the fathers discovered a shared love of jazz music and spent hours comparing vinyl collections, a testament to the universal language of connection. On Christmas Eve, as they all sat around Richard's dining table, now a symbol of new beginnings rather than past hurts, enjoying a delicious multicultural dinner, Olivia looked around at the blended families, her black parents and Jackson's Chinese parents, all talking and laughing together, a tapestry of cultures woven by love. She felt a profound wave of gratitude for how perfectly things had worked out, how every challenge had ultimately led to this beautiful, harmonious moment. "A toast," Jackson's father said, raising his glass, his eyes twinkling, "to family, old and new, by blood and by choice." "And to Lily," Olivia's mother added, her voice full of emotion, "who will have the richest heritage any child could ask for." They were clearing dessert dishes when Olivia felt a sharp pain in her abdomen. She brushed it off initially, thinking it was just a strong Braxton Hicks contraction, but when it returned stronger several minutes later, she caught Jackson's eye across the room, a silent plea. "Honey?" he questioned, seeing the sudden shift in her expression. "I think—" Olivia started, then winced as another contraction hit, undeniable and intense. "I think Lily might be coming early." The house erupted in controlled chaos. Both mothers immediately took charge, timing contractions and efficiently packing Olivia's hospital bag, their years of experience kicking in. The fathers, a blend of anxious and excited, called the hospital and brought the car around. "But it's too early," Olivia protested as Jackson helped her into her coat, a jumble of emotions swirling within her. "We still have 2 weeks." "Babies come when they're ready, sweetheart," her mother soothed, her voice calm and reassuring. "And it seems Lily wants to be here for Christmas." At the hospital, the doctor confirmed that Olivia was indeed in labor. "Christmas babies are special," she told them with a warm smile. "And everything looks good. The baby's just a little eager to meet you." The labor progressed steadily through the night, a long but ultimately beautiful journey. Jackson never left Olivia's side, holding her hand, wiping her brow, encouraging her through each contraction, his unwavering presence a pillar of strength. Both sets of parents waited anxiously in the family room, sending periodic text messages for updates, their anticipation a tangible force. At 3:17 a.m. on Christmas morning, Lily Chin came into the world with a powerful, indignant cry, perfectly healthy despite being slightly early. She had Jackson's warm, expressive eyes and Olivia's full lips, a beautiful, perfect blend of both of them. "She's perfect," Jackson whispered, tears streaming down his face as he held his daughter for the very first time, utterly captivated. "She is," Olivia agreed, exhausted but radiant, her heart overflowing. Our Christmas miracle. The grandparents were allowed in shortly after, all of them crying tears of joy, taking turns holding the newest, most precious member of their family. The room filled with love and wonder, the best Christmas gift any of them could have ever imagined. Later that day, as Olivia rested in her hospital bed with Lily sleeping peacefully in the bassinet beside her, her phone chimed with a text message. It was from Richard. "Heard from mutual friends about your Christmas delivery. Congratulations to you and Jackson. Wishing all three of you a lifetime of happiness." Olivia smiled, showing the message to Jackson, who had just returned with coffee. "That was nice of him," Jackson said, surprising Olivia with his genuine, unprompted tone. "Yes," she agreed, "it was." Olivia thought about how far they had all come. Richard finding the courage to be with someone he truly loved despite his family's disapproval. Jackson rebuilding his architectural firm in Chicago to be with her. And Olivia herself turning what could have been the most devastating moment of her life into the beginning of her greatest joy, her most authentic self. As she watched Lily's tiny chest rise and fall with each breath, Olivia felt a profound sense of completion, of destiny fulfilled. The journey that had begun with that accidental, painful text message had led here, to this perfect moment, to this beautiful family, to a life richer and more fulfilling than she could have ever imagined. Jackson sat on the edge of the bed, wrapping an arm around Olivia as they both gazed at their daughter, a shared universe in their eyes. "What are you thinking?" he asked softly. "That everything happens for a reason," Olivia replied, her voice filled with quiet wonder. "That sometimes the things that hurt us most lead us to exactly where we're meant to be." "And where is that?" Jackson asked, kissing her hair. Olivia looked up at him, her eyes filled with boundless love and unwavering certainty. "Right here, with you and Lily, this is exactly where I'm meant to be." Outside the hospital window, snow began to fall, covering Chicago in a fresh, pristine blanket of white. A new day, a new life, a new beginning. And for Olivia, Jackson, and baby Lily, the promise of countless happy tomorrows stretching ahead, a future bright with their own making. In the end, what had seemed like the worst betrayal had become the greatest gift, the unexpected push Olivia needed to find her true path, her real love, her authentic self. And as she drifted off to sleep, her family close beside her, she knew with absolute certainty that she wouldn't change a single step of the journey that had brought her home.